months of doing this. And yeah, it was pulling teeth at first. I struggled big time. I finally, after a month or two, was able to run a mile. And after several other months, something happened where I slipped into a whole new, as if it were a whole new arena. I began to enjoy it. And I didn't know that that was possible. And I'm just here to let you know there's hope. And I want to spend our remaining time looking at one simple verse of Scripture and picking it apart so we can understand faith and weight loss. The verse is 3 John verse 2, which is page 865 in those blue Bibles, or to locate it, it's one of those small little books, find the last book of the Bible, Revelation, and go to the left of that, you'll find the book of Jude, and to the left of Jude is 3 John, land right there, 3 John and verse 2. The question I want to answer is, what do I do now? In other words, how do I deal with where I am physically? May I say, let's make a switch if we could. Let's flip a switch. Don't be so concerned with weight loss. Rather be concerned with health. Make that little switch. It's going to be very helpful. Let's see what the Apostle John wrote. 3 John, verse 2. Dear friend, and put your name in there, by the way, whatever your name may be. Lou, Luke, John, Mary, whatever your name is, Debbie, put your name there. For me, I'm reading it. David, I pray that you may enjoy good health and that all may go well with you, even as your soul is getting along well. What John is doing in his letter, he's putting this direct correlation between the health of one's soul and their physical health. Let's read it again. Dear friend, I pray that you enjoy good health and that all may go well with you, even as your soul is getting along well. Let's pick it apart. So if we then have a healthy soul, it's a greater probability that we have physical health. And soul, when you hear that word, don't get distracted or confused by it. The word soul is just an umbrella term. Everything that falls under it has to do with your emotions, your psychological framework, mental, spiritual. It's all under that umbrella. So when I say your soul, I'm dealing with the intellectual, emotional, psychological parts of your person. John says, get a healthy soul, and then it's going to be greater probability and ability for you to become healthy physically. In other words, if you feel good about yourself, emotionally, intellectually, psychologically, it'll move you into being able to work on your body so you can feel good about your body. So John's making this correlation. In fact, the alarming issue, based on the article Weight Loss, Emotional Eating, on one of the leading medical websites, the writer says, emotional eating is the practice of consuming large quantities of food, usually comfort or junk foods, in response to feelings instead of hunger. Experts estimate that 75% of overeating is caused by emotions. And so many of us learn that food can bring comfort, at least in the short term. As a result, we often turn to food to heal emotional problems. Eating becomes a habit, preventing us from learning skills that can effectively resolve our emotional distress, depression, boredom, loneliness, chronic anger, anxiety, frustration, stress, problems with interpersonal relationships, and poor self-esteem. Self-esteem can result in overeating and unwanted weight gain. So 75% of the overeating is attributed to the emotions, the inability or the unwillingness to really deal with our emotions rather than turning to food as a therapeutic kind of measure. It may be good for a moment, but it's not good after you've you've binged on it. And for me, it was the stress of ministry and caring for people and meeting needs and leading a staff and doing all the things I do. I was turning to Snickers and M&M's peanut. I was twisting the scripture. M&M's peanut was a very present help in time of trouble, rather than the Lord being a very present help in time of trouble. You understand? And so I want you to see that it's about making this switch. Now, a lot of us, boredom, we eat when we're bored. And so may I suggest then that, now, let me back up. Before I address the boredom stuff, let me say, for the healthy soul, if you've ever been abused psychologically, emotionally, physically, sexually, you've got to be in the office of a therapist, a counselor, a pastor to unpack that stuff. Don't just walk around saying that I'm okay. It's not okay, because there are things that you may not see going on inside of you, whether it's anger. And men, when you've been abused and you're angry, you tend to explode, and women tend to implode. And so you process your anger inwardly, and men process their anger outwardly, and we deal with our angers differently. But if you don't address the issues that attributed to your anger, or the emotional abuse, or the physical or sexual abuse, it may drive you to overeating, and you think you have a eating disorder. Maybe this emotional thing got to be dealt with.